First of all, Joe, thanks to you and your team for assembling and thinking outside the box. I certainly appreciate that. Dr. Hunter, thanks for your comments about professional development. I'm glad to hear that we were all paying attention at the meeting a couple weeks ago and talking about having that planning time and collaboration time for our teachers. I think that as we move forward with this 7-period day and the schedule changes, that's been a concern. And hopefully that kind of thought process will help alleviate some of those concerns. Then lastly, I think it also stems from the conference, and I guess I just want to make sure I'm clear about this, is that in regards to standard-based assessments, is it really true that we don't know, our teachers do not know, our teachers here and all the teachers around New Mexico don't know what those questions look like? I mean, do we have access to old standard-based assessment?
We do not get, the New Mexico test questions are not released to us.
And why is that exactly?
That's a legislative, I wouldn't say legislative, a public education department.
It will end up being a legislative.
Something. I'm not quite sure. What we do, and what Leslie and I have been really investigating today, and Chris and I, and we've been talking about Bob sent some websites, we've been looking at states that do release questions as part of this junior academy that we're talking about. And it's not to say that teachers haven't been doing this some too on their own, but we have been really pulling that, working with those tests, and also particularly the Harcourt. Harcourt is the company that produces the test. Now our test is New Mexico's test. It is not Oklahoma's test, even though Harcourt might make that test. It really isn't. However, standards and benchmarks come out of national sets of standards that are produced like by the National Science Foundation, National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and so forth. So there's often a lot of similarity in them. As I've explained in our state, and I think this is a compliment to the state, our test is one of the more rigorous tests in the nation. It has more open-ended questions on it than most tests do, and it counts for more of the score, which means that it's not a bubble-in multiple choice test. It's basically essay in math and reading. So that's a hard thing because a lot of tests in around the nation, they're not like that. They're just bubble tests like multiple choice. So we almost have to create access for students and teachers to learn how to identify that kind of question and how to answer it. But we're working on that in this district. Well,
and I guess it's been an issue that's really concerned me since I come back from the conference. I mean, we have very high expectations of ourselves as board, administration, and teachers, and yet when we're talking about this assessment that we are all evaluated upon, we don't apparently have access to the very questions and the methodology that's looked at on the exam. And I know it's maybe a legislative issue and something that's sort of out of our hands, but it seems like if you're studying for the LSAT or the SAT or the ACT, you have the appropriate prep materials and you actually have access to those other exams, older exams, to help prepare. And I think it's just an issue of fairness for the kid.
Well, we agree with you. So take it forward.
Preaching to the choir.
Yes, yeah. We focus on keeping them no more than 15. So that's been a huge benefit.
And that's in math also?
Math and reading, yes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's worked out really well, having the class sizes that small.
So much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you a lot. Okay, next item is consent agenda, business and finance. Mr. Pena.
As I submitted, you can see that the items for the consent agenda budget adjustment request for number 1, operationally increased. That was a substantial amount. Reading first, fresh vegetables and fruit carryover, and Title I, and then there was a cash transfer to operational to student nutrition for a permanent transfer to help them out.
Any questions from the board?
One question on the transfer for the student nutrition.
Yes.
Is that a transfer from operational?
It is. It's an operational transfer. In the past years, we've had to assist student nutrition with some shortfalls. And at the last work session, we had mentioned that there might be a possibility of a requirement to increase the prices. But again, we'll discuss that in work session.
And there's usually a balance out at the end of the year.
Has to be.
You know, I mean, as far as what we owe them, they owe us, or whatever.
Right.
Right. We're going to make this permanent.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through C.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. The Board of Education requests letter of thank you to be issued to the individuals who have made donations to the district. And we do have one included. One, I believe, particular that I'd like to make note of. There were two individuals that donated to Mountain View Middle School. And Mr. Farley made a comment that both of these individuals he would like to recognize at the board meeting. Lieutenant Colonel Madeline Howe and Mr. Alan Sky Chikinski. I probably butchered that name, but anyway, he wanted to make sure that they were recognized for the donations for incentives for his students there at Mountain View. Okay, moving on, information to the board. Let the record reflect that the board has reviewed all financial reports for the month of October. And no other business. Moving on to the APS Board Policy Manual. This is the first reading of Policy 2.1. This is our new vision and mission statement. Are any comments or questions? None? Okay. This will come back to the board next month for final adoption. Okay, on public comment, there is none on second session. Let's see, any additional board comments or advanced planning updates, anything that you might want to say before we adjourn?
I should have seen this a second ago on these board policy changes. Do we want to, are we going to publicize those?
Really, it needs to wait until after you approve it and it becomes official. But as soon as that's done, then it will go on everything that we do up there, plus the website.
Right.
It'll be stamped on our, everything.
If you'll notice, the one that's actually on the website right now that was just adopted in November of '06 is still there, and we'll have a new one as soon as we adopt this in January. It'll come back for the adoption, and it'll go from there. It's been on the agenda, it's posted there as such, the reading is, and it's part of the public record. Okay, advanced planning. Staff winter break begins actually Friday afternoon, and they'll be on break from December 24th through January 4th. The staff returns to work on January 7th. Student winter break is December 24th through January 8th. Students then will return to school on January the 9th. Our next regular board meeting is January 15th at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. And the district needs assessment, as Mr. Harris has noted, it will be January 23rd at the Civic Center. Time will be announced. I need a motion for adjournment.